So, without further ado, I'm going to bring our very first panelist to the stage. Please, can you welcome Linda McGillivary? She is Director of Kildare Limited and Franchise Partner of Platinum Property Partners. Welcome, Linda. Thank you so much for joining us today. Please, can you just tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yes, so my name is Linda McGillivary. My husband and I started Kildare Limited in March 2020. We convert properties into high-quality co-living spaces for young professionals. And we joined, because it's our first foray into the property market and it's such a specialised area, we didn't want to go on the journey, if you like, on our own. There were too many mistakes we could make, so we actively sought out some mentoring, and we came across Platinum Property Partners and decided that actually the range of services that they offered was phenomenal, and we would make far fewer mistakes and be far more successful if we went with them. So we've actually started in partnership with them.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Can I just check everybody can hear us okay as well? Yeah? Great. Okay, so next up we have Charlotte Rutter from Roma Finance. Please welcome Charlotte. Hello. Charlotte, again, welcome. And please, can you tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yes, hi, I'm Charlotte Rutter. I'm the Head of Communications for Roma Finance. Roma is a bridging lender, very agile, forward-thinking lender, here to support property investors and developers in their endeavours. I've been in communications for 20 years now, and in the property and finance industry for approximately 7 years now as well.
Great. Great, thank you, Charlotte. Next, we have the wonderful Marie Parris. She is CEO of George Ellis Property Services. Welcome, Marie. Looking fabulous, may I add?
Right.
Marie, please tell everybody who you are and what you do.
Good, okay, so I've been a landlord since 1994. George Ellis Property Services, my company, started in 2004, but we actually started by giving landlords seminars, training seminars, how you needed to be a landlord. Without the gloss, is the mic okay?
Yeah, little
Sorry
glitches.
about that, but without all of the gloss, the multimillionaire stuff, which is rubbish, it's about all of the things that you need to know when you're a self-managed landlord. That's how we started. Organically, we grew with landlords saying to us, could you actually rent our properties? So we let them manage across London. We still do the training courses, which is very much a core part of our business today. And I do various other things within the industry.
Brilliant, thank you, Marie. And last but certainly not least, we have Carly Jermyn, who is Director and Property Litigation Solicitor at Woodstock Legal Services. Thank you, Carly, for joining. Please just tell everybody a little bit about what you do.
I'm a lawyer. I specialise in property litigation, but more specifically, and this has been in the last 10 years, just residential landlord and tenant services. So anything from evictions, rent arrears recovery, housing disrepair claims, which we're seeing a huge increase in unlawful eviction. So I'm a specialist lawyer, and I have a team that work with me across England and Wales, also specialists working for landlords and agents across the country. I'm also a landlord myself. I got my first property when I was 25. So I've experienced those same challenges. One of my biggest challenges I think I've had has been when my property was cuckooed twice. I don't know if anyone else has experienced that or knows what it is, but it's when county lines drug dealers will move into a property and essentially take it over to run as a drug den, normally where you've got a tenant that's a vulnerable adult, and I've had to deal with that twice. So I understand the challenges that landlords face, having experienced them myself. And I'm also the CEO, owner of Woodstock Legal Services, which I set up escaping from traditional law firms with a view to setting up something that allowed me to push my career forward and really provide legal services in a much more progressive way, a much more practical way, and provide a platform for other women and men to be able to come on board and do the same thing.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Carly. Well, very excited to be here today. Let's kick off then with our first questions. So I want to start kind of at the very beginning. So I guess the first question should really be, why as a woman should we invest in property, Marie?
Okay, so I definitely feel that as women, the majority of us have natural skills. So we all run a home, we have children, we pay bills, we're organising works for to be done on our home. These are various different skills that you can take to apply in the different elements of property. Whether you're going to do something like me as a property agent, whether you're going to do something that is a bit detailed, a bit creative, we have that. I also feel that it's really important, whether you're married with partner, that every single woman should have a property of their own that is under their name.
Absolutely.
I'm very much for keeping properties in the family bloodline.
Yeah.
So I definitely feel it doesn't matter where you want to go to, what type of career you want to have in property, it is varied. We have the skills, we have the natural skills, the communication skills, the admin, the organising. We're people.
Yeah.
So I'm very pro that.
Yeah, absolutely. Would anybody else like to add on to that?
No, yeah, I think I agree. And that was my motivation at 25 to get my first property. It was something for myself. And, it's harder to do now. Appreciate that. But that was really important for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. And so then, Linda, why do you think that property is such a great career for women to get involved in?
Well, actually, sort of following on from what Marie was saying, I think that a lot of women that I've come across, myself included, that when you've taken time out of a career and you've been running a house and you've got children and maybe you're trying to juggle part-time working, running a family, we undervalue the skills that we have by running a home. And I think, I've got managerial skills. I am an extreme multitasker by running a home with 3 children in it. I'm head of human resources. I'm head of conflict resolution. I'm head of logistics, budgeting.
That's right.
All sorts of things. And I think that we sometimes fail to recognise just how transferable those skills are in a work environment. And property gives you all of those things. I'm having to deal with builders, and and they're actually no different to dealing with bickering children or the kids in the playground that I used to have to deal with. I've got to deal with budgeting. I've got to bring a project in on time, or it's not going to make me money. It also suits me because I'm very much a project person, and that's not just because I'm female. Mm-hmm. It's because it suits my character, but there's an ebb and flow in the sort of work that we do. We're refurbishing a property, so it's really, really busy. And then we have a bit of calm and quiet, so then I can do the other things that are important to me.
Yeah.
And it gives me the flexibility as well. Family is massively important, and it means that running my own business, being in the property, I can drop what I need to for the kids. And just because mine are in their 30s doesn't mean they need me any less than they did when they were 6.
Yeah.
So it means that I've got that flexibility.
Yeah, we're natural-born problem solvers, aren't we, as women? Especially when children come in. Every day there's a new problem. Every day there's something else to solve. So those skills are 100% transferable. I totally agree there. So then talking about finance and females, do you think that property and finance companies, Charlotte, could benefit from having more women involved, but more importantly, also in senior positions?
Yeah, absolutely. So, anything in the property industry, in the finance industry, legal, anything like that, it's always traditionally been a really male-dominated industry. There are, in the finance industry, about half of financial services employees are actually women, but there's not very many still in senior positions. So women do tend to be, not to generalize, obviously, but they tend to be more sensitive, more agile, more focused on development, on knowledge, on education as well. So they have a great ability to be able to develop people into the industry and create all those opportunities. And women need to advocate for each other in whatever industry it is. but just picking up on your point about family life too. So you have your own business. I am part of a larger lender, but they have been amazing and instrumental in being able to allow me to have everything. So I have my family. I don't miss any nativities or sports days or anything like that, but still be able to influence the lives of many people out there, property investors too. Roma is fantastic on service, customer service, and how we treat people. And it just all flows through. But yeah, there's women in senior positions at Roma, which is definitely filtered down and created considerable success.
Yeah, that's really great to hear. What do you think some obstacles are for women getting into senior positions, not just in finance, but in any business?
I think because the industry previously was very male-dominated, I think women have just thought they needed to fit into that box, into that little narrow box of what it used to be. And this can apply to property, to anything in that sort of area.
Yeah.
Whereas if you play to your strengths and you're bold and you do it, just do you, and do it how you want to do it, you will probably find that you have considerably more success. I know some amazing women who left their career, decided they wanted something different, and they've now, portfolio landlords, having a great work-life balance and doing it the way they want to do it. And it never would have been possible if they just tried to fit into the traditional box that was perhaps there in the 80s and the 90s. It's a whole new way of doing things now.
Yeah, brilliant. Super inspirational they are. So Carly, then, from a legal perspective, what's it like being a female in law?
Yeah, I think it's probably really similar. There's no getting... lawyers, I think there's probably more female lawyers, I think. I'd have to check the stats, but again, there's a barrier at the top. Women aren't progressing. If you look at the top of law firms, they're predominantly male-led. I think for me, I look back, Woodstock's really different because we're a female-led firm, and also a lot of my team, majority are self-employed.
Right.
They attract entrepreneurial lawyers, men and women, but it really suits women because they're able to push their careers forward, as I wanted to, whilst having that flexibility and the ability to juggle that alongside a family. It also attracts men that want to do the same and that are supporting women do the same. We've got a lot of male consultant lawyers, fantastic lawyers, but they too want to do the school run. Their wife works, so they're there doing it jointly. So it's not failing to recognise those. And I think I'm in a privileged position being at Woodstock because we've kind of flipped it on its head a little bit, and we've got men and women succeeding in that environment, taking away that ceiling. And it's looking back, when I look at the traditional law firm that I was in before, one female partner, I look at that firm still that one female partner. Nobody else has pushed through, they've left.
Yeah.
And it's really frustrating. And I'm okay in a male environment. I quite enjoy a male environment. I grew up with two brothers. I'm quite comfortable in it. But I appreciate a lot of people might not be.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. It's that feeling of just trying to fit into that male world. And sometimes it was like, perhaps could you penetrate it, the little gang, as much as you should have been able to, perhaps if there was more women. If you're working as a lawyer in property, a lot of the surveyors you work with are male. There's a lot of male lawyers, but it's the people you're working alongside, the experts that you work with tend to be male. A lot of the property investor clients tend to be male.
Yeah.
I would love, and I think with Woodstock, we've flipped it on its head and we're making a change. I'd love to see surveyors doing the same thing, and I'd love to see more female property investors for my team to work with. I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think as well, there was less choice a little while ago, wasn't there? Women did tend to bring up the kids, go home, take the maternity leave. It wasn't even an option once for guys to have a long paternity leave. That's all changed now, right? I know more and more people where the guys are choosing to be a stay-at-home dad, and the women are going back to work quicker. Yeah. So I think now we've got more options in that sense as well, from a finance perspective of having a family. That's going to give more opportunity to women and to have more of a career.
I think there's a self-belief issue as well, because I think that when you take time out of the workplace, you think, oh, well, I can't go back in. I've had time out. I've only been looking after the children. And I think we tend to look at jobs and go, I can't do that, so I won't try. I won't go for it. Whereas men often go, well, I can do some of it, so I'll give the rest of it a go. So I think innately there's we prevent ourselves from getting into some of these positions.
Yeah. Marie, did you have something?
Yeah, I wanted to say, I mean, look, some of us are not corporate people. We're just not. And we don't want to be. And I'm one of those people. So, you know, for me, before I got into property and the jobs that I did have, I don't think there was one job that I had for 2 years or even 18 months. I'm just not that corporate girl. So if you find that you have the ability, you've got some confidence, you don't need to have a lot of confidence, because when you start something, you will hone in on that. Start your own thing, because then you don't have to worry about the silly office politics and somebody not promoting you and you're only getting a percentage of the fee that the firm is making. Start your own thing. It may seem daunting, but it's not. Because once you start and you realise, I don't have a safety net, and I've never had a safety net, I am the safety net, you learn to just cope with that. Because you don't have a second option. Why be in any establishment where you're not happy? Why? It makes no sense. It's definitely... Since COVID? No. So if any of you are sitting there and you're thinking, do you know what? I want to start something in property. And there are many things you can do. Interior, property sourcing, property management, do legal, do finance, but start something. People buy you. They don't buy that brand over the door. When I worked for other people, and my day job before property, I was in recruitment, they would buy me. They did not buy my employer's business. So consequently, when I got the courage to leave, all of my clients came with me. So don't be put off by if you want to start something yourself.
Absolutely. And if you don't know where to start, seek a coach, seek a mentor, get the right network of people around you. That was life-changing for me. I messed around for a year or two, kind of stumbling my way through things. I had no idea about property. I was a dancer beforehand. And I sought mentorship. And that was when everything changed for me. So that would be a huge piece of advice if I could give anybody thinking about starting out today. Okay, well, let's talk now about some positives in the industry, because there are many, many, many of those. What would you say has been a career highlight for you since starting your business, Marie?
I think there's been many. I mean... I've been speaking on the property circuit for about 18 years. I know, I like people to think I'm about 42, but I just give the game away when I say that. But the thing is, I was in the audience here, and actually, funny enough, I don't know who she was, but she was a solicitor, and she was doing a seminar, and what she was talking about, I remember sitting there, and I remember thinking, what? What is she saying? And I'm like thinking, I could do better than that. So literally, I left that seminar, contacted the organisers, and the next show I was on. And that's how I started to speak. So I built my business by giving seminars. Landlords then grew it organically by saying, would you let them manage my properties? And I was speaking. So I did 3 different elements, and then we have just added onto that. I think my highlights, my positive points, are when I'm creating something and I create that thing, that business that turns into money. Because, you know, what is a business? A business is solving a problem for a profit. And if you're an investor, you're a landlord, that is what you're meant to do. So I have many highlights, but I think that opportunities are around us every single time. It's just about you identifying it and going for it.
Yeah, absolutely. What about anybody else? Anybody got a career highlight?
Yeah, I think for me, it was the ability to, with Woodstock Legal Services, step away from a traditional law firm and find a way to really push my own career progression alongside having children, and satisfy my sort of entrepreneurial and creative flair and ambitions that I had alongside legal practice, and really create something that I was proud of. And it's years and years of hard work, but where the team now are starting to be recognised as, key players. We've just been shortlisted for the awards for this show for Landlord Legal Service Provider. So for myself and the team to get that recognition and start to be really recognised as up there, a firm that's relatively junior compared to some others is incredibly rewarding.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Carrying on then from the motherhood type of topic that we've got, what would you say, Linda, how have you managed to navigate through motherhood and a career in property?
Well, I think when my children were younger, so my husband and I, between us, have 6 children, which is way more than anybody needs. And they range from sort of 12 to 30. And when my 3 were young, I was working part-time and I was a mum part-time. So I spent my entire life, or my children's entire life, feeling guilty that I was a rubbish mum and I wasn't able to work and do the job that I wanted to do. With the business that we've got now, I can fit everything around what's important to me, which is the family, but it's also about making sure that I can bring my values into our business. So of the children that we have, 5 of them have been in rented accommodation either through university or apprenticeships, or they're sort of privately renting through work. So I've seen a whole range of properties that they've lived in and thinking, well, I don't really want them living in places like that, and if my children are going to move away and work somewhere else, I'd like to know that their landlords actually care about them and that they're going to be in decent accommodation, and that if something goes wrong, it'll be fixed and sorted. So with all of the properties that we've got, I actually shamelessly exploit my children and just go, okay, you're the age group that we're aiming for. What do you want in a property? What would you be looking for? Do you like this colour scheme? What's trending now? Because what I think at my age is the in thing is probably about 10 years out of date for the youngsters, because I'm a bit slow to catch on. So I do, all of the experiences, if we moved from job to job in the commercial world, we would be taking those experiences that we'd had previously and bringing them into our current role. But for some reason, as I said earlier, we seem to think that being at home and running a home successfully isn't actually working, and it doesn't give you anything to bring into your business. But there's everything that we do, everything that we experience, all the issues that we have, I've managed to bring into the environment. But I think for me, the biggest thing, going back to the self-confidence thing that I mentioned earlier, for me, this was a huge jump into a very complex world. And it is fraught with difficulties, and there's a huge amount of legislation involved around it. And so for me, the safety net of being part of a very well respected franchise network, where there are other people who have done the same thing across the country. It gave me confidence that the model would work, and also it gave me somewhere that I knew I could go, that if I wasn't too sure on something, I've got a panel of people that I can go, even if they won't actually do it for me. Because when the kids come to you and they're little and they go, Mum, how do you do? And you go, well, how do you think it works? Which is a really annoying question. But Platinum will do the same. It's like, well, what do you think about things? Or this is where you need to go for advice. So I think having that safety net has actually helped to build my confidence far quicker than if I'd done what you'd done and invested without a mentor. And then think, crikey, I'm in over my head here and I don't know where to go.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think, for me, a lot of it is about the flexibility.
Yes. Flexibility is a great word to use.
Oh, absolutely. Because I can go, and I think I bring something different. I think women generally bring something different. We have a different perspective on the world. And I know that, there's obviously an overlap between the way men and women think and act and everything. But I think we maybe approach things in a slightly different way. Our emphasis is on something slightly different. So, for example, my husband's emphasis is most definitely on the bottom line. Mine is, does the lounge look nice? Would our housemates be comfortable here? And as a result of that marrying of two different sets of perspectives, we've got very stable households. So we then don't have the churn of housemates that maybe people who care less about their tenants, who are just in it for the money. We have people who stay and who work together, and we've got happy households.
Great stuff. Okay, Charlotte, the industry has changed a lot. I know that you have had an excellent career in finance that stemmed a few years now. How would you say the industry has changed over those years for women?
I think the industry has been evolving considerably. Both property and finance has been evolving for a very long time. I think the last 3 years specifically has given people a new perspective on life. So there's a number of options here. There's so many more people that are empowered and whether they've come across that themselves and seen, I can do that better, and taken that leap. But in another way, in the last 3 months alone, 250,000 people of working age left the UK workforce. So there are 9 million now that could work that are not working, but they have, for various reasons, many reasons. But for some of them, it's because they want a different way of life and they want to go out on their own. They want to create their own destiny. They want to have everything. So whether they've done that or that in turn has made it very much a workers' market. So companies have to have raised their standard. They have to do better for people. They have to provide that good work-life balance.
Yeah.
So I think in the normal side of technology getting better, there's much more diversity and inclusion across the board, which is amazing. But yeah, I think it's just everybody's had to do better.
Yes.
Because people know what...
Yeah.
There wasn't any sort of realization of what they were missing before COVID, and then everybody went, "Oh wow, I don't have to work 9 to 5, 5 days a week. I don't have to work late into the night. I can have everything. I don't have to go to the office."
Yeah.
So I think everybody has to do better to get the best people in.
Yeah, again, coming back to that word flexibility,
Yeah.
as we spoke about before. Carly, would you say the same in terms of law?
Yeah. Lawyers are very slow on the uptake, I have to admit. I think law firms are a little bit archaic compared to other industries. So change is really slow, but it is happening. I think the pandemic helped a huge amount for us, for lawyers. And I think the rise in consultancy. So over half of my team are self-employed, and I think that really gives the flexibility that women need, and men, so not just but that parents need, and older men as well. I've got some older members, I think I shouldn't say that, they're over there, but you know, they want that flexibility. They want to go on holiday with their wife. They've been working in law firms where they've worked really long hours for years, and they want to, you know, it's time to spend with the family. But for women, it is changing, and I've got two sides here, I won't point them out, but two newly qualified solicitor and a trainee, and for me it's really important that not just for my self-employed team, that I've got an environment where they can continue to flourish as mums and as females, and that they lead the way. And hopefully, because they're in a firm that is not male-led and is female-led, they can see that the opportunity's there. It's still incredibly hard. No matter how much, you know, we can all talk about the positives, it's incredibly hard, but we are making a change, and things are progressing, and they're going the right way. Could go a little bit quicker, but they're going the right way.
Good.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, we've spoke about a lot of advantages. There are tons of advantages for why you should invest. What are some of the disadvantages that we have come across during our careers? I know there are plenty. Hopefully, they're getting fewer and fewer. But Marie, what would you say some of the disadvantages or obstacles that you've come across within your career?
Okay, so when I first of all started to invest in 1994, my very first property that I bought then was repossessed.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was probably about sort of 4 years later. And it was a really, really big time for me. There's lots behind the story, which I won't go into. The thing that I think lets landlords down is not having the knowledge.
Yeah.
Now, no offence.
Yeah.
And I'd love you as a lawyer, because I like lawyers who are also investors. And
Yes.
I do like particularly female lawyers.
Yeah.
But herein lies, okay, we are getting into a season that is going to be very difficult for us as landlords. Landlords need to educate themselves. There are lots of evictions that you're going to have to do. They are probably going to charge you £2,000 to do the eviction.
It's not that much.
Okay? And that's the eviction, probably even just part of it. You guys as landlords need to know that process. You need to know how to fill out an N5B form. As an letting agent, I can't do it for you. But you need to know how to fill it out, and you need to get the education. And I think that is very, very important. Too many times I have landlords that sit on my training courses, whether you've got 2, 7, more properties, some of the fundamentals you do not know. You can't just run and just decide, I'm going to invest in a property because my friend Sue is doing it. Don't worry about Sue. What are you doing? So I think it's the education. You're letting yourself down on that, and you're not getting to a point where you are knowledgeable. And this is going to be the season where you have to be. Build it from the bottom upwards. It's like if you're building a brick wall. If you don't have that mix of sand and cement, you're going to lean on that wall, and that wall is going to fall down. So educate yourself. Applied knowledge is what I say. Not knowledge that you pick up from the internet or on the street. Applied knowledge. Why are you doing it? The why and the how. Because when you learn the why, it will become very easy to you.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And so, Linda, you didn't actually have any construction background or experience when you first started out in property. How challenging was that for you, and what steps did you take so that you did gain that knowledge?
Well, it wasn't actually as difficult as you might think, because I just ask lots of questions all the time. And that comes from my dad, who always used to say to me, never accept anything for what you're being told. Always ask why. You need to understand why it is you are expected to do something.
Yeah.
I think with builders, one of the advantages of being a woman is that builders generally don't actually expect you to know an awful lot about what the building trade involves, which sometimes works in your favour because they're happy for you to ask questions. I think the minute you start bluffing, they can spot that a mile off.
Yeah.
But I found that, I mean, my building team now is absolutely amazing, and we're now talking the same language, because it's like, you know, I go and procure all the materials for them. So the plumber says, right, okay, you know, we're going to put, I need to get the sinks, for example. When I first started out, I'd have got the sink. I realised I probably need a plug and a tap, but I might have forgotten that, or I might not have understood that I needed an S-bend or that particular clip, whereas now I do. And that's because I've chatted to them and I understand what it is that they need. I did have a little bit of a background because, I mean, right from a young age, my dad was building extensions in our houses and I was labouring for him, and I sort of still labour now. And I worked in the construction insurance industry for a while at a time when I was very young, and actually it was incredibly male-dominated, and I had a bit of a rough time. So I said, okay, no, I don't know the difference between a board pile and a driven pile, so take me on site and then I'll understand it. So I think for me, it's about... You can ask questions. You only actually have one opportunity. And when I was teaching, I always used to say this to the kids. When you're 16, you can ask any question because nobody expects you to know anything. But as you get older, you feel that you can't ask questions because you should know the answer, and you feel stupid for saying you don't know.
Yeah.
But and I think once you've been in an environment, if you've missed the opportunity to ask the question to educate yourself, then that opportunity has been lost and you're on the back foot.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it's like, I've got skills that the builders don't have. It's like I bake cakes. The builders like my cakes, and I get some good work out of them. Okay, we can't all be good at everything that we do. And I can't build a house myself. I need their skills, and it's about recognising where your skills gaps are.
Yeah.
And filling them with the right people.
Yeah, so I guess those disadvantages where you are missing knowledge or you're missing certain things would be to build a team that has those things that you're needing, right? Fill in a missing piece in a jigsaw puzzle. as we say.
Absolutely. And also go with your gut instinct as well. I mean, in our last build, we had an issue with the builder, and I knew it was going wrong, and he was a friend of ours, and we'd taken as many steps as we could to avoid having those potential problems if things didn't work out.
Yeah.
And I knew things were going wrong, and I left it because I thought, oh no, he's having a bad time, always had COVID, always a friend, I don't want to upset the apple cart. And actually it went more wrong than it needed to because I didn't trust myself. So
yeah.
I think
so it's a confidence thing there.
Yeah, and again, going back, and I know I've said it already, but having the benefit of platinum behind us means that, you know, I don't need to get into problems. If I come across something that I haven't come across before, I can phone the lettings manager or I can phone the planning people, and I can say, right, okay, this is coming up. What do I need to do about it? Where do I need to go? What have I got to be aware of? So I'm actually cutting problems off. I'm heading problems off before they actually become an issue.
Yeah, brilliant. Marie, can you add anything to that?
In terms of what?
In terms of where the disadvantages have come from with regards to builders and how you would try and mitigate, I guess, those problems before they've come about.
I think that really you have answered, and I think one of the key things that I take from you is that to ask those questions before, it's about doing your due diligence. You know, without any due diligence, you end up in a situation that you're not meant to end up, that will cost you a lot more.
Yeah.
You know, buying the property is easy. It used to be relatively easy, not so easy now. But doing up the property, refurbishing that property, there are a number of things that you need to find out before you go down that road. The whole planning, the consent, what are you using that property for? What's going to be the end use? An HMO, how many tenants you're putting in there? It's about the due diligence. So it comes back to the knowledge is what I'm trying to instill. When you don't have the knowledge, and you've got a wealth of knowledge right here. When I started, they didn't have things like this. They didn't have things like this. They had Mike Stimpson and a landlord association. You've got lots of people here that can help you, but it's the knowledge, but getting the right knowledge from the right people.
Yeah.
Because, you know, two people in the same industry may not agree. You've got to work with what you feel you're more aligned with. But I keep on punching on that because that is why I lost my property. And I don't plan to lose one in this season. So it's the knowledge.
Great, thank you very much.
Planning as well is always good. You know, I've always said if you spend time up front planning, and I plan for probably more eventualities than there are likely to be. So I do have plan A and B, probably up to G and H and a bit beyond there on occasions. But I'm not going to be surprised then, and I can flip quite quickly to another option. So I think sometimes people just go headlong into something and don't think about the bigger picture.
Yeah.
So I do think planning is actually an important part.
Great. Thank you. So Charlotte then, let's talk mental health and balance. How have you found your career in finance? Has there been times where that scale has tipped one way? And how do you cope with the workload while maintaining balance in life?
Things changed dramatically in 2020, and mental health was all over the newspapers. It was, it should have been focused on more beforehand, but it really came to the forefront of everything. So I think for my mental health specifically, knowledge, absolutely, agility and self-care. Those are the three things that have got me through, and I think will continue to do so. I think this has been the most turbulent 3 years. I mean, we've had a pandemic, we've had a war, we're on multiple prime ministers and counting. Let's just see how it goes. You can't control these things. You're not going to be able to control whatever happens this week with the base rate. There will be considerable opportunities for property investors and landlords over the next couple of years, I would think. And so absolutely getting the right knowledge and make sure you're completely clued up on everything. Yeah. But in the same breath, you have to look after yourself. Yeah. You have to remain agile. You have to take time out for yourself, which is why so many I mean, if you've gone out on your own, that's great because you can kind of make your own rules. But if you are part of a business like I am, then choosing a business to work for that offers you flexibility, offers you hybrid working, it really invests in well-being and mental health is definitely the way to go. But you've got to force that issue yourself. You have to take care of yourself. You have to do something that makes you feel good and gives you breathing space so you can actually prepare to keep on going.
Yeah, absolutely. The art of saying no as well sometimes, right? I think we can sometimes, especially when you're starting out in something new, you want to say yes to everything. You want to go to every networking event. You want to meet all these new people. And sometimes you can get so overwhelmed that you end up not making the progress that you want. You burn out, and then you're kind of back to square one. So I do think saying no and really honing in on what is important to you, your why, as Marie said. And that will definitely help.
Linda, I mean, you said about planning before and how important it is. It's absolutely essential.
Yeah.
You need to be ready for as many possible eventualities as possible. You don't know what's around the corner. So the more you can do, the better prepared you will be. But you've got to look after yourself in the process. So you're just going to burn out. Then you're no use to anyone, especially not yourself.
Can I just add something to that? I disagree with what you've just said, because I think when you're starting out, you need to say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah?
This is the
you
other
need
end,
to say
for
yes
sure.
to everything. You just don't let it show with your clients. You know, I had 3 new clients that I had to see on Monday and Tuesday, and I had no time really to do it, but I didn't want to miss the instruction. So I said yes. The result of that, I'm in my office on Monday at 1:45 in the morning. And Tuesday, I think I left 11:30. So I have a shop front, people are going by and they must be thinking, God, look at her. Billy, no, mate, she's still in the office. Does she not have a house to go to? When you're starting up, you've got to say yes. You've just got to know what are your stress triggers.
Yeah.
You see, my stress goes in here, so you're not going to see it. Yeah, because you're not going to see in there.
Yeah.
But I know how to manage it. And the self-care, taking some time out for you is good. But COVID is great because before COVID, my office, there had to be somebody in there. All office hours, every day. Oh, God, there's got to be somebody who's in there. Where are you? Da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah.
I don't care anymore. We've created a sign. If we're not there, call us. You'll get someone. And these are the changes that you can make to suit you.
Yep.
But I think when you're starting out, and even when you're not, we're going to be in lean times. You need to say yes and just think about how you're going to do it afterwards.
Yeah.
You'll cope.
Yeah, definitely. It is all about your capacity and what you're capable of. I totally agree. What about from a law perspective then, Carly?
Yeah, I have to say I'm of the same ilk. When I started, for me, and it's interesting that you said about just taking that first step. All I did when I started Woodstock, I ever anticipated I'd be a stand over there here today and have 30 plus of us. I just took that first step because I knew going back into traditional law firm was not an option for me. So it's about taking that first step. And yes, I have always been the sort of person that says yes to everything. I'm getting more mindful of going, you can only do that for so long and you need to take a little breath and take some time for you. But I think you're right. Sometimes you just have to do that. You do have to just say yes. Really go for it. For me, in law, it's been incredibly challenging. I have my own business. I've got 3 small children, 4, 6, and 8. I started Woodstock when my first was born, and like I said, I just took that step forward, knowing going back in was not an option. And I grew that business bit by bit by bit. The business grew very fast, very exciting. My second one came along and realised there was no maternity leave. That was not a thing. But I had a team around me, so I was able to take the right amount of time, but still focus on my business. Along comes number 3, and the business is growing again, faster, and I'm still wearing all those different hats. I'm a lawyer, but I'm now running a business, and I'm doing the marketing, the HR, the accounts, and I remember my third one coming along. It's my 3rd child, so I've got half a clue of what I'm doing this time round. But I'm sat there in my office with my team, with Jensen strapped to me, and I'm there. I'm the only one that can pay everybody. And if I'm not there that day, they don't get paid. The suppliers need paying, the team needed paying. And I was exhausted, but, and I did it. And it is challenging. And I think one of the best things about running your own business and taking control of your career is the flexibility. But that can also be the most demanding thing, is where does the scale tip the wrong way? And I have had times where it's tipped the wrong way and I've gone, too much. I need to dial it back a bit.
Yeah.
But, it's the biggest challenge, but the most rewarding thing, and it is worth it. And it's about getting, the right time with family, but still being able to push forward for me and making sure that, I do what I need to do for me and my business and my team.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So then, Marie, where are you going to be looking at investing in the next 12 months? We've had 3 prime ministers in 3 months, inflation rising, interest rates, everything is a little bit crazy at the moment. What are you going to be focusing on, and what's your strategy looking like?
Okay, so I have no plans to invest in the next 12 months whatsoever. What I'm going to concentrate on is my existing buy-to-let. So I have a number of traditional Victorian terraces that are HMOs, and I'm going to be looking at adding value to those, putting ensuite bathrooms in, doing refurbs. But I'm going to take things into consideration because we've got a change in the EPC regs. So I'm going to need to make sure that those properties are up to scratch. It's about keeping your eyes on your number. I'm not really interested in investing in residential properties. Some commercial things I'm interested in, but I'm going to concentrate on what I have because I believe the market's going to get to a place where it already is. It's unaffordable in a number of parts of London. And therefore, I think if you have got very good quality HMOs with some en-suites, you will get those rentals. And that's where my focus is going to be, not about buying anymore.
Okay.
I've got enough.
Interesting. And is that predominantly your area, London?
Yes,
That's
always.
all London.
And freehold. That's only just by choice. The first property was a leasehold property, and I think with all the costs that go with leasehold, that was probably another factor that came into place. So I'm very much freehold properties and convert. But that's what I'm going to do.
Nice. Smart move.
And not be stressed. That is one of the things. Don't be stressed. I want to tell this story, actually, because when I first got my first property repossessed, my beautiful mum, and I was talking about this to her the other day, she is in her kitchen. It's about a 22-foot kitchen. And I'm down one end, and I'm putting some plates away. The banks were on me to pay the difference between what I owed. So they had already repossessed the property. And my mum said something to me. To this day, she can't remember, I can't remember, but it was nothing about me. It was just about the situation. Maybe, you should sort of clear it up. I'm like thinking, I don't want them to make me bankrupt. I've got a company, I can't be bankrupt. But I remember I had this plate in my hand. I was putting it away. And I took the plate, my mum said something, and I hurled the plate in her direction. Me and my mum and my dad, we are like this, my beautiful late dad. But that's where stress gets you, yeah? You get out of character, so don't get stressed. Okay. Right, we're in for hard times, but we can manage it. Hold on.
Brilliant. Well, I think we're slightly out of time, so we're going to run to a Q&A if that's okay with everybody. Can we get some microphones? We do. Fabulous. If anybody has a question for our panelists, if you'd like to raise your hand. Just this lady, thank you.
Hello, really informative. Thank you very much for the panel. You mentioned about de-stressing and me time. I'm just wondering what you all do to de-stress and just find time for yourselves to do something different that is good for you personally.
Mine was retail therapy, but now with interest rates going up, I'm learning how to cook. So I'm not going out to eat 4 times a week. So that's what I'm doing.
I also retail therapy, and I have to stop that now.
Common denominator.
But I play in my local tennis leagues, and it's right behind my house. So I go to the tennis courts and smack the hell out of some balls sometimes. But it helps me a lot, and I also bake. So those are mine.
Nice.
I bake for anybody and anybody who will eat them. Coke copious amounts. And I also sing and I tap dance.
Nice.
Not all at the same time, I hasten to add.
I'd like to see that.
You don't do it while you're putting it in the oven.
For me, we're blessed. I live right on the south coast, down in Poole by Sandbanks, and it's beautiful. So if you're ever feeling stressed, there's no better place than in the winter, I would say, when there's no tourists, for a nice walk down on a crisp beach, and even a dip in the sea when it's mid-December. There's nothing like clearing the head with that. Okay.
Yeah, gorgeous. And for me, I walk. I go out in nature. I like quiet time for me to de-stress. That's kind of my thing. Yeah. Next question. Lady over here.
Hello, question for the panel and particularly for Marie. How are we going to work out the rising fuel costs and be fair to our tenants? Have we got any ideas what we're going to be doing about percentages or how we're going to go to the ones that...
Okay, all of my HMOs, in terms of the gas, I do have it come in on at a timer and I control it, so it's locked. It comes on at specified times. There are council-run buildings where they do that. Yeah. Since the increase in energy cost, I haven't contacted my tenants. I need to have meetings with each household. So that is just something that I do at the moment. And I might have to look at reducing the hours that it comes on and just making them more aware of not leaving electricity on in rooms. So maybe a few more poppers are going to go up in hallways and that sort of thing.
We deal with ours by, we're the same. We control out the gas remotely. We also do seasonal newsletters to all of our housemates, and so the last one has just been on energy efficiency. Like, don't put the tumble dryer on if you don't need to. You've all got air dryers. Can you just be mindful of turning lights off? We've got motion sensors on a lot of our lights in communal areas, so there's no chance of them leaving lights on by mistake. We know our housemates really well, so we know what their working schedules are, so that we can adjust the heating accordingly. And most of ours are actually, in all of our refurbs, we plan the energy efficiency so that we're adding as much energy efficient installations, if you like, into the houses, so that we put 12mm underlay in all carpets, for example, which actually makes a huge difference in terms of the amount of heat that we actually retain within the buildings. And we've got an ideal, like at the moment we're just about to start a refurb. This is an ideal time for us to be able to spend maybe a little bit more now, but it will save a lot of money in the long run.
Thank you. Any more questions?
Could
I
I
hope
just
that helps.
add something to that lady's
sure.
question?
Yeah.
One thing that you need to be careful of with the energy bills, if you are a company, so you set up under Section 24 and you're a company, the energy companies are going to start to treat you as a business. So you haven't got Miss Marie Parris on the bills, you've got whatever, Marie Parris Limited. So you need to be careful and think about these things. And communication with your tenants, you've got to level with them. Yeah. Let them work with you, because otherwise the result is going to go up, the rent. There's no other way.
Yeah.
Next question.
Yeah, great. Any more questions?
I was just going to add to that if I can.
Yeah, sure.
I know you're specifically talking about energy prices, but I think one of the key things to look at for you guys is the impact of the cost of living on tenants. And my best advice that I can give to you, we experienced huge amount of this when the pandemic hits, and I think traditionally people expect as lawyers we just want to rush you off to court. We absolutely don't. And what we did in the pandemic was really encourage landlords to talk to their tenants and make sure they knew and understand what their financial situation was, and see if you could come to a sensible commercial solution with them. So if they're struggling with their energy costs, if they're they're unemployed or anything, you'll talk to them and see if you can come to a sensible arrangement. And we can work with you to do that, and we will do a huge amount of it, I feel, now with the cost of living crisis. And I think it's incredibly important.
Yeah,
that you have those
communication,
conversations early.
definitely. Yeah, very important.
Can I just add to that as well? Just echoing what you're saying there, just keeping the lines of communication open. If you've got you've got your mortgages, or you've got your loans or bridging loans, development finance, whatever you're doing, just keep your lines of communication well and truly open, because your lender will work with you to help you come to a solution that's best for you.
Brilliant. Yeah. Any final questions? No? I think we're all done for today then. Please do connect with us all on socials. And please, yes, put your hands together. Linda, Charlotte, Marie, and Carly. Thank you so much.